Hi, it's Peter Roby again with our video blog from Northeastern University on Thursday, November 17th, I guess it is, and happy to be back for round 2 here of our little blog experiment. And for those of you that tuned in, appreciate you doing that, and look forward to the feedback as we go forward. I read yesterday about my colleagues and friends down at the University of Maryland who are faced with some difficult budgetary decisions with respect to their athletic program. My understanding is that they're faced with the prospect of having to cut as many as 10 intercollegiate sports from their athletic department. They currently offer 27, and if they were in fact forced to cut 10 more, it would put them just above the minimum of 16. They'd be at 17 varsity sports sponsored, and in order to maintain your Division I status, the minimum is 16. And it's a sad day. I know it's a difficult decision for them, and my understanding is that they've already announced that swimming and diving has been discontinued, and they're trying to wait for the results of some review of their athletic budgets to decide how much further they have to go. So, you know, obviously we feel badly for all the families and student athletes that are being impacted by that, as well as the folks in the administration at Maryland, because that's not the kind of decisions that you get into this business to do, as we well know from our own decisions that we had to make around football. But I find, and in addition to that information, it sounds like they're facing a budget deficit of as much as $4.7 million in this fiscal year. And if that trend were to continue, given their anticipated growth of revenues and expenses, that the gap could grow to as much as $14.5 million, which obviously everybody feels is an untenable situation. And what's kind of ironic about all that is, in the midst of having to make those tough choices, we also now have to make other choices around adding expense to our bottom lines, and that comes back to the whole cost of attendance stipend that's been passed by the membership in the last month. So if you remember, we talked the last time about a $2,000 stipend for full scholarship athletes to help cover the ancillary costs of college. And in the face of having to potentially make these difficult decisions, we're now contemplating adding expense back. So if you do the math with someone like a Maryland, where you have 85 scholarships for FBS football, that's about $170,000 if they were allocating those scholarships one for one. And then if you were to add men's and women's basketball, let's say, which would be about 28 additional scholarships times 2, that you're at about $225,000 or $6,000 in total monies. Now, compared to the $4.5 million deficit that they're facing, it's a drop in the bucket. So from a practical standpoint, it won't have that much of an impact. But from a symbolic standpoint, it'll have a tremendous impact, because you're making some really tough decisions, and it's kind of counterintuitive, given the suggestion that the reason that you're making those decisions is because of the costs and the budget implications of that. So that's the kind of dilemma that a lot of teams and schools are facing. And in the last several years, we've had a number of institutions that have made some very difficult decisions about what sports they're going to sponsor. In our own conference, besides ourselves, Hofstra's made a difficult decision around their football program. Delaware has eliminated a number of programs in the last year, and James Madison several years ago eliminated 10 varsity sports from the sports that they sponsor. Seton Hall had to make some tough decisions not too long ago. Rutgers has just recently made some tough decisions around the sports that they're sponsoring. So in the midst of all of that, we're now going to likely see people adding expense back, and in a way that you have to ask yourself how fair it really is. And we here at Northeastern, on our senior team, have been discussing this whole issue around the cost of attendance, the stipend, and what kind of implications it might have if we decide to go in that direction, and how do you do anything around that while at the same time trying to adhere to some core values around fairness and equity, and that's what we're really wrestling with now. One of the things that I think is a possibility, and one that our membership is going to have to deal with, is whether the stipend legislation should be overridden. And there's a mechanism in place for the membership to vote to kind of rescind legislation that's been put in place because the majority of the membership does not think it's appropriate. And given the fact that this legislation came out of a presidential retreat that was then came out as a recommendation to the Division I Board of Directors, it was not voted on by the full membership. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens. You know, one of the reasons why I'm considering the idea of an override is because, you know, we already have a mechanism for kids to be able to get additional support to meet their cost of attendance needs, and that's through the Pell Grant. So U.S. citizens can apply for a federally funded program called the Pell Grant that will provide them up to $5,000 of additional support to meet their needs. So we have a mechanism in place for a number of our student athletes that does not take into consideration any foreign-born student athletes. So there is potentially a need for them to be helped, and maybe there is a way to put monies into a pool for them to take advantage, but have it be based on need, just like you would if you were applying for a Pell Grant. So we are still trying to figure out what's the best way to address it. Many people that are a proponent of the stipend would suggest that you would leave yourself and your coaches at a competitive disadvantage if you don't go along with the legislation. And I'm struggling with that from the standpoint that I'm trying to consider the value of a Northeastern education and this experience that we're offering young men and women to a place that's the fastest moving school in the top 100, that has been on an incredible trajectory over the last 10 years, that has so much to offer academically, socially, and athletically, that I'm struggling with the notion that we might lose a young person trying to decide between Northeastern and another school strictly because we can't or won't say up front in the process that we're going to guarantee a $2,000 cost of attendance stipend, but that we would offer the resources through some sort of pool or to encourage them to apply for a Pell Grant. So anyway, that's probably one of the most pressing things that we're dealing with right now, and one that I'm sure you'll hear more about in the coming weeks and months. So I hope that's been helpful. I'm excited about this format. I hope you are as well. And remember that we're interested in your feedback. We look forward to hearing from you. Please feel free to submit some questions to us that we can then add to our agenda of topics that we want to talk to you about. Homecoming's this weekend. We hope to see many of you on campus this weekend celebrating the Northeastern spirit. Our teams are in action. We've had lots of good results thus far and more to come. So on behalf of everybody here at Northeastern, we say thanks for all your support, and go Huskies.